Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10, baby! We appreciate y'all following. Salud, brother.
Salud, cheers.
To the uncommon followers, thank you. And do we have a show for you?
We do, and God, what a journey it's been to get just to 10 episodes, right? And thank you so much for all of your guys' support, all your love, all of your participation, feedback. It's really helped. We started this journey, February?
February-ish, March, yeah. We actually started having this conversation in December.
I feel like we had this conversation maybe even a year before that, right?
At the alumni game.
At the alumni game.
It was that December.
Yeah. Really kind of started deeply having
so you're right.
preparation, of this in December and trying to make this happen. Mm-hmm. So really blessed to have you as a brother and along this journey. And again, thank you to the Uncommon following and the culture that we're building for continuously supporting us and our journey. We've muscled through all the COVID stuff to get to episode 10, and I feel like this is the start of a huge inspiring ministry for everybody.
Absolutely.
So
yes, and we hope that this can inspire you to follow your goals and to achieve what you need to do, because we had to plan and organize, and these are some topics actually we're going to discuss today. Today's topic, leadership. So with leadership, Chris, do you want to go ahead and give us our subtopics?
I mean, what inspired this topic, I think, for both of us is kind of our roles to bring this message to everybody else and be leaders for other men and inspire other men. Some of the things that we've talked about leading up, to this conversation is just having communication. How are we going to communicate our thoughts, our feelings, our philosophies about being men today to other people, right? That's a huge element of leadership, would you say?
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, to kind of snowball, if you will, it takes courage, because I remember when we first started this, I was full of fear. I was like, I don't know, man, what are they going to think? I thought this was a good idea, but I don't want to do it, and you remember that?
I do.
And then we still had a blast.
I
do,
what I mean? Yeah.
And every time we've done it, just like anything, we get more comfortable. It gets a little bit easier type of thing, But each topic, of course, we prepare for, And with that said, communicating is something that Chris and I have a gift at, but it didn't always occur that way, okay? Some say we might have the gift of gab,
Yeah.
But I will admit that I probably have been in positions where I've talked too much or I've said things I shouldn't have said, you know what I mean? And so with that said, when we say as a leader you got to communicate well, it's about delivering information in a way that your team for work or sports or your spouse or your children can receive it. So delivering that information to your audience in a capacity that will be received. So you've got to think about who is your audience? Who are you speaking to? How do you need to speak to them? The way I speak to, my daughter is a little bit different than the way she's going to be 14. It's a little bit different than I talk to my 16-year-old. Sometimes it's the same, or if I'm in a group with them all, or different than I talk with my youngest, who's 9, and then my 10-year-old. Oh no, he's 11 now. Little Josh and Jericho. Okay, and then the conversations I have with my wife as well, so each of them I might have to have a firm conversation or it might be a fun conversation. It just depends on the content of the information I'm attempting to share, modify, distribute, or change. If we're planning something, that conversation is going to be a different tone. If it's a correcting conversation, that will also be a unique tone, okay? And now if it's just a fun dialogue about an entertainment event type of plans for an evening, that's going to be a different dialogue as well. Whereas if it's in my career, if I'm having a conversation like training I'm going through with a new work situation, that conversation is going to be very much so that way I can receive information. Like I'm asking questions because I don't know something, you know what I mean? And so I might ask another question to identify and clarify. And so that type of communication is what we're talking about. When you're being a leader is anybody, to quote John C. Maxwell, if you have influence over somebody, then you're a leader. If you're a parent, if you're a boss, if you've got colleagues or coworkers or friends or family, you're a leader. And so how are you communicating? So think about that. Are you good at that? Do people tell you, I don't know what you're talking about often? You know, I'm confused. Or do they say thank you? Great, that makes sense. I understand. Or are they just saying that because they don't want you to shut up? So you want to really analyze, because our goal here is to help you get better at whatever that is, growing as leaders. Because we're growing as leaders. We've been in different leadership positions where we've had successes and not successes, and we just want to help, okay? We're not experts by any means. We're just transparent and want to be a blessing to each of you.
Well, on the other side of that, you hit really well on, Josh, is you said delivering and receiving, right? So the other side of that leadership role is receiving information, right? It's another way of saying listening. Right? We've talked about several times before.
Bang. Go back a couple episodes.
But receiving that information is a huge part of communication, right? You got to kind of turn off the world and really hone in on what is actually being communicated to you. Sometimes it's more difficult than others, right? Especially, when you're trying to communicate with your significant other or, the opposite sex. We don't communicate the same. But that's all part of being a leader, right? Is you can't just distribute information. You've got to be able to receive it. And part of that, receiving information, is asking questions, right? If you're not clear, don't be afraid to say, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? Can you tell me about this? You say this and you can communicate with me well with that all the time. And you say, can you tell me more about that? To me, that not only does that say that I'm interested in what you're interested in what I'm saying, but it also says maybe I didn't fully tell you everything about what that particular topic was. So it's kind of twofold in a way of...
Thanks for sharing that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And so, again, it's something that I take away from our conversations. Very, very simple element, right? Can you tell me more about that? Again, not only does it say that you're interested in what I'm saying, but it also tells me maybe I wasn't clear on some of the stuff that I said, so I can go in depth a little further. It's okay for me to tell you more about this, right? Another form of great communication. We talk about leadership roles and communicate. So how do you, and you talked about delivering, right? So how do you then transition in delivering information? Because most of the time it can't come from the hip, right? So what do you feel like you have to do to distribute information properly?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So something that I picked up on in delivering information was what has been kind of told to me, and Coach Stanley told this to me when I was learning. Coach sandwich is what he called it. So just like a sandwich, you got bread, you got your meats and lettuce, tomatoes, and then more bread, right? So you want to start with some type of compliment, you know what I mean? And then you put in something maybe you want to correct or discuss, right?
Okay.
And then you end with a compliment too. So the conversation ends in a positive light. So I've taught this to my wife as she's a stylist. She's also managing clients as well, and managing not only clients but our other stylists. So they need guidance. So she's mentoring them.
Sure.
And so I've been tasked with the responsibility to mentor my spouse so she can be groomed and prepared to be a better manager. So she's used that to where she can compliment. Hey, girl, this looks really awesome. You're doing a great job. One recommendation I might have is insert recommendation for improvement, right? Now keep up the good work. Proud of you. You got this.
So that's a great way to go about leading a team, leading other people, right? Communicating with others and keep motivation going. But you hit on something that I think is pivotal. When you talked about the sandwich, right? When you go into your fridge, you don't just scrape out ingredients and throw it on the counter and say, I'm going to build a sandwich and we're going to throw this stuff into bread.
Yeah.
Like, you really kind of prepare for what kind of sandwich you're going to have, right? Like, what kind of meat are you going to go, what are the condiments you're going to insert?
Turkey?
Not all of it is, right? And lettuce doesn't always go in a sandwich.
Ham.
What kind of lettuce, right?
Yeah.
What kind of tomatoes? There's preparation that goes into that. Do I really want to have a meat sandwich, right? Maybe it's peanut butter and jelly, right? That kind of stuff. Maybe you want to throw bananas in. Is it
a grilled cheese?
Is it a grilled cheese? Right. Is it a hot sandwich? Is it a cold sandwich? There's preparation, right, that goes into to all of that. That's a huge element in leadership. You can't just fly off the seat of your pants as a leader.
Right.
Like, there's got to be a sit back and reflection. There's got to be preparation for almost everything that you do. I know we don't always have time for that. We don't always think of that. But you've got to give yourself that time to sit back and absorb the information.
It's huge.
Right?
Success is in the preparation.
Right.
You know?
Right? Because if you don't have that, then you haven't thought of all the different aspects that can go into that, right? And with that, being a leader, you haven't coached properly. You haven't given opportunity for others to see different angles, right? Which goes into being a leader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in preparing for this, I shared a story with Chris about, imagine you had an axe and you're going to go chop down a tree.
Oh, that's a great example.
You got to sharpen that axe. It would not be a very good decision to just start whacking away to knock this tree down. Mind you, it's a tree. Let's imagine it needs to be removed. We're not just taking any tree down, okay? The tree needs to be removed. Well, you're going to spend a lot of time hitting this thing if you don't prepare. If you've got a dull blade, right? Now, if you sharpen that, and I would actually probably use a splitting maul to work with this, in my opinion, because I did some chopping. But with that said, because you got a little more weight, so you're going to prepare with that, sharpen it, and hit at certain angles, so that way you're able to have success, as opposed to going with a dull blade. And so in the sales atmosphere, that's like role playing or game planning, forecasting. Talking about what your marketing is going to be like, to your projections to meet that goal or quota, or on the field. What are the proper players that need to be in certain positions, and how are we going to get certain athletes geared up and get those skills corrected accordingly, or add those skills to yourself, or meet those goals, whatever you're trying to achieve in your life or your relationship. You know what I mean? All that in regards to leadership. And by the way, if you have influence over anybody, like we just mentioned, a reminder, I think I just say that, John C. Maxwell, if you're influencing anybody, if you are a leader already, if you're doing that. And so just take the time to prepare. By preparation, that's going to be thinking about whatever it is you want to discuss, writing that down if necessary. Not everybody needs that. There's digital platforms. You can type stuff up. You can use different applications to organize your stuff. Google Keep. There's notes audio that you can do. You can just do the pen and paper old fashioned. Whatever's best for you, prepare. So that way you're ready to lead your team, your family, yourself. Okay? Lead yourself in your spiritual journey. Maybe it's organizing some type of reading that you want to get better at in the scripture. Whatever that might be, take that time to sharpen that axe, to prepare.
And so let's talk about briefly, without going too far on a tangent, life, right? Because life hardly ever gives you time to prepare, right? And so you've got to make that time, right? When life throws you curveballs, every day we get thrown a curveball. We've got to identify that and be okay with saying, you know what, I got to take a step back. Me and your mom have to talk about this. I need some time to reflect on this. I need to have time to absorb this. That's not the same as saying, I don't know what to do, which I think as men, that gets thrown into the bundle. If we remove ourselves, it's saying we don't know what to do in this situation. And that's kind of true, but at the same time, it's on a leadership role, it's saying, I'm going to address this in a better way.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're telling whatever audience it is. That's what you're telling your family. That's what you're telling your team. That's what you're telling anybody that interaction comes with is, we're going to address this in a more healthy way, in a better way, right? So I just need some time right now to think about this, and then we're gonna talk about this. That's your preparation time. So take advantage of that. If you think about all the situations, you talked about cutting trees down. If you know all the projects that you do at home, all the vacations that you take, there's preparation there. Whether or not we identify that as preparation, that's what we're doing because we want to do it the fastest way possible. We want the best vacation for our kids. We want the best result. So if we don't take that extra step when life throws us a curveball in those situations and take a step back and say, you need some time, I need some time, we need to talk about this in a more healthy way, or I need to identify or just absorb what information was given me and then prepare for how we're going to talk about this.
That's good. Right? I love that. And when can you prepare? Because you stated, hey, sometimes we don't have time. You can stay up late. Yeah. You can get up early. That's what I've found is the best thing to do, you know. And then once you've done that, Chris, we got to execute. Right?
Right. Yeah, that's a huge part after the preparation. Because then what do you do next? Right? That's the next step from preparation is execution. Yep. And so, yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, we got to get the result, you know. So from like a coach standpoint, we're both soccer guys, you know. If you're working on shooting and you're just sitting on the bench and you're not getting yourself in the game, you know, now we're playing adult leagues type of stuff. It's different than coach getting in, you know, you're coach of your youth. But as an adult, like, you can practice whatever it is, and then you got to go do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through training right now because I'm working in a different department in my career, because we have a salon, but I also sell insurance, and so I'm in a different department. So now that's what I'm doing. I'm going through all these trainings, getting prepared, and I have coaches that I'm working with, okay, to get me ready so that way I can fly on my own, so to speak. All right? And we all got to take that leap. You know, that's I guess the biggest way that I like to kind of visualize that or paint that picture for everybody. For the execution is you just got to jump and fly. Just let those wings fly. And that's what we want to encourage you today. All right? Step out, believe in yourself, achieve.
And own your plan. Own your plan. You've prepared, you've put in the work. Own that. Own that plan and just know that there's going to be challenges that happen. And own those challenges. Learn from those challenges. What being a leader is all about.
Yeah, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. We failed. And
multiple times.
We just keep getting back up.
Multiple times.
Just like Rocky. Rocky never quit. Keep swinging. All right?
Absolutely.
We're signing off. Episode 10.
Happy 10 episode anniversary. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Encourage you to be uncommon.